Hi, TinkerCAD challengers. This is Sam with the month of June's challenge, and it's going to be create a bird feeder. So this is my little bird feeder. I made a smaller edition of what I want it to be, but I am aware of the bird flu going on. This was planned out months prior to that being an issue. So if you are worried about the bird flu happening, then once this is printed, don't put it out just yet. 3D prints don't expire or anything, so they're plastic. They could last forever, virtually. If you have not joined the TinkerCAD Challenge classroom through TinkerCAD, please do. The code is attached to this. The code is at the bottom of the screen right now. One Sunday session a month, I do virtual tutorials for anyone that needs help or wants to have someone there while you're working on it. So be on the lookout for that, okay? You have to register for that separately in order for you to join in, and then once I see that you're registered, I will hop on in. If I don't see anyone register, I'm going to assume everyone's fine, so I will not have an open session if that is the case. But if you ever need to reach out, feel free to email me, call me, and I will get to you as soon as I can. But this should be a fun one. So in the video, I highly recommend you research what kind of bird feeders you want to make. So I did the cylindrical one, but there are so many options out there. You could do a plate bird feeder, you could do a house bird feeder. There are so many options. You could even do a hummingbird feeder, and this is definitely a great color for hummingbird feeders. So if you want to attract some hummingbirds around, they're out there. Just print out in red or tell me to print out red and I will do it for you. If you do want to try out a different challenge and like say you saw something else that was done before and you still want that print, do it and let me know and I will print out for you, and these prints are for free, okay? If you see any other, if you do multiple challenges a month and you want to print out multiple of them, you can only get one, but just let me know which one you want. And if you do want to pay for it separately, it's $1 an ounce per print. So something like this bird feeder, if it was an extra print, I believe this would be about $2 to $3. So even then, it's not totally expensive. Let me know if there's any suggestions. I hope in the future to have these TinkerCAD challenges to be done in a virtual and in-person sessions. So that would be great, so I can meet anyone who's interested and also provide one-on-one help too. And if you want one-on-one help regardless, I do have appointment availability. If you want to make an appointment, just check out newlinuxlibrary.com/DML, and that will take you to my page where I have my hours posted. Good luck, have fun, enjoy the challenge. Bye. So I'm looking up different examples of what I want to do with a bird feeder, and I highly suggest you do the same thing. Try to see what you want in a bird feeder. If you want something as simple as just a surface where there's bird food on the ground and they're pecking at it, this is probably the easiest design to work with, and it's still just as functional as something more complicated like this. Just keep in mind though, it is not going to be see-through, so well actually you could actually print out a clear bird feeder to see where the food line is. But just keep in mind though, it might not be as clear, it will not be as clear as this, and it still might be hard to work with. But you can make something like this, where it has a top piece, 2 pegs, and then holes for the birds to peck their food, to get their food from. Or you can see some of the house shapes. Now I'm going to do more of the cylindrical shape like a lot of these are, just because it's a little easier to print out. It probably won't take as much time in the 3D printer. But alright, so first thing I want to do is pick my general shape. Like we've done in every one of the TinkerCAD challenges, we pick the general shape that we want our design to look like. So like I said, the cylinder, we have that here. Now I'm going to use the tube again. I really like the tube for the reason that I can adjust the width. I can adjust all the sizing through the menu as opposed to dragging it and then moving it that way. And this allows me to also make sure to see how much room I have in the middle and then how thick I want the lines to go without having to worry about printing it and reprinting it again. I can figure out the wall thickness from here. So the wall thickness in general, I want to make sure it's sturdy. So I'm gonna make the wall thickness be 2, and that's gonna be 2 millimeters thick. That's pretty thick, and overall the PLA is really strong. So I think that will be a good thickness. And then when I think about printing it out too, the thinnest I could print it out with the setting that it's at, it would be about a 0.8. So I want to make sure I have it bigger than that to make sure that there's enough wall thickness and that it's strong enough. I can honestly probably take this down to a 1.5, but I will keep it. So remember, this is all in millimeters, so 10 millimeters now means 1 centimeter. So if we think about a centimeter, it's not that big at all. In terms of bird feeder, so I'm selecting the height. I'm going to do 127 millimeters. See, that's huge. So this is only 5 inches of space. I gotta keep that in mind. So let's do, I'm calculating just kind of like half of that. So obviously I don't need the bird feeder itself. If it's going to be a long tube, I don't need to have it as thick as it is tall. So I think 2.5 inches is pretty good. So I'm going to do that at 63.5. Remember, with the radius, you want to change both the sides. Otherwise, it'll be kind of oval shape, which also works. But I want to make sure that I have a cylindrical bird feeder. You know what? I'm thinking maybe 4 inches would be better for this. I'm changing this to 4 inches because I'm thinking it might be too big. But it is pretty hollow, so I think it might be okay. And I'm making the cylinder 50 by 50.8. So overall, this is going to be 2 inches in diameter and then 4 inches tall. Alright, so overall I have the bird figure storage, I guess, done. Now I want to think about, I'm going to move the bird feeder up because I also want to think about where I'm going to put where's all the food going to fall to. So I want to consider that. So I'm going to just move it up to 3 for now. I am going to lock this so it doesn't move or go anywhere. So I'm looking at the space under here, and I can always change this. I'm purposely keeping it pretty low though, because so overall I probably have to make sure I get enough room for the seeds to fall into, but not enough for them to just build up and just keep falling. The fun thing about the bottom is you can really just do whatever shape. You don't need to have a bowl shape or anything where it's just gonna collect at the bottom. You can do like star shapes, half circles. Let me see what else we have here. Actually, so I use the clover in my planter, but I think the clover would actually be a really great idea. The reason why I want to use the clover again is I do like how there are the 3 sections. So I'm flipping the camera over. I'm going to focus on this clover underneath. Well, actually, what I could do is, but I will hide, or I will make the cylinder a hole shape for now, just so I can make sure the clover fits around it. I want to make sure the cylinder for the bird feeder is in the clover shape, and that when I cut a hole out of this, that it is all going to be one shape once I group them. So I'm going to, so the duplicate one I made bigger, I made it 8 by 8. The center one is 70 by 70. So what I'm going to do is group Oh, I also made the 70 by 70 a hole, and I'm going to group the outside inside. I'm not going to group the cylinder, and then I should cut a hole in there. Now I can see if I want to adjust some things. Overall, I think it's okay. I know the clover is it's such a strange shape compared to the cylinder, but I think it's okay. I'm going to, I'll leave it 10. So I'm going to change the height to 10. I'm going to leave the height as 10. I am going to make sure, though, that the overall cylinder shape is tall enough. So I'm going to bring that up to a 5. And I think that should be good with, at least I'm hoping it'll be good with this, like how seeds work. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. I'm going to group these two pieces together. And that is going to be the bird feeder so far. We have 2 of the 3 things needed for the bird feeder. So the one thing else we need would be a top portion to put the food on. Now this will probably be the more tricky part depending on what you want. If you want something that's just, if you're going to use like fish wire to put a top on, you just lift it off the fish wire. I can do that. We can design that. We could design that way, and then that will be the way that we will print out and let you have your designs. We need to create a place where you would tie a fish wire, and then we also need to create a roof of the bird feeder and then have it be able to be a little bit bigger than the cylinder. So the easiest way, I'm going to grab the cone shape, and then remember, I think we had this as 70 by 80 by 80. Oh no, we don't have this. The cylinders are 80 by 80. I forgot the clovers, the additional space with them, they're 80 by 80. So we're going to make sure that this is just to 80 by 80. And then you just got to change the top portion, or maybe the top portion is fine the way it is, actually. We just probably leave the top portion. There. So that's the simple way to do it. Now the one thing we do have to add though, you have to add a hole for the top of the cone, because when you put the string through it, it has to go through the top of the cone. Or you can also add holes to the ends, and then all you have to do is just lift it up from the sides and just lift up the cone. I'm trying to think. Now this doesn't have to be a very big cylinder. This could be, and actually the hole could be even smaller than this too, because just trying to make it, like I said, as centered as I closely can in terms of trying to make sure that this is all. So one of the things I just discovered is this shape, and this is probably the best idea you can have for your bird feeder. So if you want to go in Design Stars and grab the vase shape, it's a very good bird feeding cylinder right there. So this is one of the reasons why you just got to check out what the shapes tool, the shapes library has, because they also add more stuff on occasion, so you can always find more things as you go and tinker around some more. But they do add some stuff on occasion. But yes, this is a great bird feeder, because then you don't have to worry about. First of all, if you could see through everything, it's one of the great things too. You can always just move it over the one you have, and I think it's about the same size already. So I have, once again, I have to ungroup it to make sure. So it's 50.8, so it's a little bit bigger. 50.8, and then the height is 101.6. So I will delete, or I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to delete the orange cylinder. Like I said, it's just a better idea, and then I don't have to worry about too. And it also solves the problem of how you could see inside the feeder. So I think this is a great option for design. Oh, now the one problem I have is the base piece does have a solid bottom, so we want to make sure that that is, what's the term, like cut off, I guess, before we continue. So I'm going to go basic shapes. I'm just going to bring out a box shape. Oh, I'm going to bring out the whole box shape and just make it big enough to cover that bottom piece of the vase. And it does not have to be perfect as long as I got the whole bottom piece selected. So I can still see the bottom inside here. Okay, so it looks like the bottom is covered. Kind of leave still some space so that the holes aren't too close to the edge. Oh, and make sure it prints out okay. Should. I group these two together. And the box should be cutting out the bottom of the vase. Beautiful. Now I just want to make sure overall that this vase shape and the clover shapes are going to build together. That I have the space down here. I don't know if it's enough space. It looks like it might be enough space. But the only place where the clover and the cylinder vase shape for the bird feeder, the only places where they're connected is actually down here. Which overall that might be a very bad idea in terms of if this were to be hanging, then all the weight would be more so held with the vase. So what I want to do is I want to do like 3 pieces connecting one here, here, and here to make sure that the bird feeder will have enough stability in the long run, okay? So let me change this to, I'm going to change the overall circumference, 5 by 5, length, width, and height. And I think that will be just enough to, I just want to make just an extra little piece there so it's enough to just hold some support on the sides. And I think this is a good piece for it. Yeah, so I'm just going to duplicate and continue to do that with all the other pieces. So now I think I want to make some of these designs a little bit bigger just for the birds. And then I'm going to create like little, not sticks, but branches where they could sit and perch and eat as they use the bird feeder. So now I'm going to just grab the whole cylinder shape, drag it onto the board, or the plane, sorry. Now for this, I'm just going to rotate them 90 degrees. And just find, it looks like the cylinders actually fit perfectly with this hole, which is pretty neat, I think. And I'm just going to move it to fit. Now I'm just resizing it just to kind of match the overall design shape. I think the shape when I reworked it, it got a little more uneven. And overall, that's not a big deal at all. Because I'm going to select this, select the other one, and group them, and it's going to cut out a hole in that design. Now I'm going to select another cylinder, rotate 90 degrees, and I'm going to make this the perching cylinder. So I want to make sure this is pretty small. This is going to be 5 by 5, and then the height will also be 5. But I do have to elongate the cylinder overall so that I can make sure that the birds have enough room to perch on. Move this and just match it up with vase shape. Once again, it looks like it's off, but that's just because it's rotated Okay, so I got one, and you can always rotate too if that's... I'm trying to match the rotation of it, so I have it right now at 10, but I'm trying to make it as even as I can when I look at it. I have a hole for the birds to eat their food from. I have a one of the bird perches. I'll do one more for this, and let me just do, I'm going to ungroup it so I can just copy and drag this over. I'm going to go a little bit closer to the top, and then on the other side to make sure that the birds have enough room to not get in each other's way. So once again, I am just rotating it to what I think will match it. Now there's something I did think about too. The top of this might be a little bit too close to the top. So maybe what I'll do instead is, I don't know if I could just make another hole here, but I don't know if that'd be too many holes. Because I don't want the birds to not be able to eat their food underneath of this. This is kind of like in their way, you know. So instead I'm just going to group all of this because I think I shift everything, and I'm going to make this hole obviously look a lot different from the other one. But the reason why is it's like I just want to really just get these two and just have enough room for the birds. So it's going to look a little weird, but I am fine with that. And then in the meantime, while it's trying to figure out how to group everything, I'm going to make my second perch. And once again, I'm trying to rotate this to match that hole up there. Okay, so now I have the hole up there. I'm going to just drag down the cylinder shape, and I'm going to rotate this. Make sure I have enough sides, smooth. Rotate this 90 degrees. I'm sorry, it keeps going back. Move it over. That's the one problem about moving everything up. It's really hard to make sure you're moving it the right direction. So use your camera tools. I also like to use the fixed shape viewer. It's just a lot easier to move everything. And if you have to lock something. Spots down here where they can hang out, and the spots up here. Overall, I think this is, I could do one more over here, really. Yeah, I'll do one more on this side. And I'll just do it the same size as this. Like, honestly, I think making them all on the same level actually makes more sense. But let me ungroup this. Once again, it's just going to take a little while to group. So I am going to make this a little bit smaller than the other one. I don't want to really cut through. I really don't want to cut through this, but if I have to cut through it a little bit, I will have to do that. So the one thing I mentioned before about making is the little holes for the strings. Well, now that we got this shape, you don't have to do this or that part, and I won't do that part. But for those who want to do a different shape, the easiest way is to you can grab the torus shape, you can grab the tube shape, and really, like I said, I like the tube shape for the reason that you can adjust it easier. So just remember that. You can always adjust the tube shape a little better. But then you would just pull it up and obviously make it smaller to the height that you want to. And obviously just make it a little smaller than that. But you just really just want a place where you can tie a string around it. So as long as you can do that with it, and right now I have issues with snapping. Kind of looks like how it's supposed to be, but I would just have it high enough so that I could tie a knot here, and then it would just go up into this cone piece. And then it'll come out the top here. Now see, I didn't even realize that this would be in the way, so you want to just bring it down a little bit so that these two pieces aren't hitting each other. But all in all, even if it did hit each other, you always, I mean, it has enough room to like give, and really it's going to pronounce it like this. And the string itself is going to be flat along this bottom piece. At least what I think it will do will be flat along this bottom piece, and then just go straight up. Alright, so all in all, this is my bird feeder. Do some research, see what you want, how you want to make your bird feeder. Hummingbird feeder, I mean, this is always a great one to make too. This is a lot more simply designed, or even this one is a really great simple design, but says attract larger birds with platform feeders. So if you want to do a platform feeder, obviously you have a lot more birds that have more space here, and that it's really just 3 separate pieces, much like the other one. You just gotta make sure that your middle piece, it could be as simple as just like a cylinder shape, and it goes right up to the middle, and you can just have a torus hook through it, or not hook, a torus circle through it, and then tie a string to whatever you want to hang your bird feeder on. Just do some research and see what works for you, what works for your environment, and overall what you want to do for your project. Okay, once again, this is Sam signing off, and look forward to seeing your TinkerCAD bird feeders. Bye.